Please fact check that resume, and it doesn't matter what he turns up because it'll be false, right? It's going to be fake. Thank you. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. I appreciate the invitation from the League to speak with you this evening on something that's really important. I had the opportunity to do a noon presentation a couple of years ago in the League's speaker series and talked about internet literacy, fake internet content, how to describe it, how to find it, what to do about it. And the original invitation seemed to be a request to sort of update that lecture. And it seems so innocent and naive a few months later that the topic has changed. I need to offer some disclaimers before we get started. First, I tried desperately to create a visual presentation around my comments, and the more I tried to squeeze this into pictures, the less relevant it became. So I'm going to talk. As I tell my students, feel free to put your heads down. I will not be offended. We should have plenty of time for Q&A and dialogue and discuss the issues that I raise. The second part of this disclaimer is that these opinions that I'm about to express are my own. They are not representative, I don't know, I don't believe, of anybody else at the University of Idaho. I speak strictly for myself, not for the School of Journalism, not for the university. And I want you to be assured that as a professor, no longer in the field as a journalist, as a professor, I don't bring political ideology into the classroom. It doesn't belong there. My concerns tonight are not about political ideology. There's a place for the conversation about meaningful issues in our society. But in the classroom, I would hope and expect that most of my students have no clue what I really think about political issues. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. So as a journalist, I was schooled to keep my political opinions to myself, and I do that. But here, I've got something else I want to talk about. I'm a journalist. I teach in the School of Journalism. I teach about the impact of media on society, about media ethics, and about the nature of news. I teach the First Amendment. So I make no apologies, none, no apologies at all, for making a personal stand on behalf of that extraordinary document, that unparalleled in human history commitment to free expression, unprecedented at the time of its drafting and peculiar to the United States even now. So defense of the First Amendment, no apologies whatsoever. Not related to political points of view. Now, I've been in the academic world for 7 years since leaving the working press. And I still, in my heart, think of myself as a reporter. I always do, no matter how long I teach. And as a working journalist, I worked the street. And I supervised those who did the same thing. And because, as a working journalist, I tell stories, I'm going to start tonight with a story. So be patient with me as I provide you with this anecdote. I became a reporter at the Register-Guard in Eugene, full-time, paid reporter, in 1973 when I left the University of Oregon. And I was assigned to a bureau in Cottage Grove, a suburban community about 40 minutes south of Eugene. That was my home base. And on the very first day on the job, as a professional reporter, freshly scrubbed, my hippie beard gone, I was wearing a JCPenney gray suit. I was assigned the most simple story in the world. I was to go interview the owner of a hardware store in Cottage Grove that had been in the same family for 100 years. The guy was in his 90s. He was the grandson of the founder. And he went to work every day in his 90s, opened his store, looked like an old-fashioned pioneer general store, and he would sell nails and hammers, etc. So wearing my suit with my freshly shaven face and my black wingtips, which I still own, I walked into the store and introduced myself to this old man. So I was a reporter for the Register-Guard, and I wanted to interview him to do a story about this extraordinary 100-year-old business. He looked at me very closely for a minute, very closely, because I'm sure he was half blind. Squinted at me, asked me again who I was, turned around and he grabbed a pitchfork off the wall. And he proceeded to chase me up, spewing the foulest language possible, poking me in the ass with a pitchfork. So there's a lesson in that moment, and trust me, I'll get back to this anecdote. But as a young reporter, steeped in what was developing as the Watergate tradition, being chased out of a store onto the street by an old man holding a pitchfork, if it didn't have a lesson, was at least embarrassing. So here's the lesson. Journalists never win popularity contests. Never. If we do our jobs well, there's always somebody ready to poke us in the ass with a pitchfork. And that's what we're seeing play out now on a national level. The pitchforks are out, and journalists are getting poked in the butt. And none of us knows where this is going to go, how it's going to play out, what's going to happen. But we're scared. As a journalist, champion of the First Amendment, spokesman for free expression, I'm scared. Now, I'm not afraid to suggest that this is an existential crisis for the press. So inevitably, a crisis of this magnitude for the press is a crisis for democracy, because we know that a free and vigorous press is the foundation of our democratic system. Important support for citizenship. So we have seemed, I think, to enter this twilight zone of unreality, where normal rules of time and space, fact, simply don't apply. And if we're in this twilight zone, where the normal physics of information don't work, what are we left with? Where is this all going to lead? And so I do ask the question, is this the twilight era, the twilight of our profession? Is this the end time for the kind of American journalism that we've come to know? Now, there are three legs to the stool that I think constitutes this problem. Other individuals will have other legs, other perceptions, but I've tried to put this in a context that makes sense to me. Three legs to the stool. And to understand what's happening, I think what I want to do tonight is kind of walk through my perception of those three components to the crisis. And then to paraphrase our new president, recognize that how could we know that this was going to be so complicated? Okay, so let's take them one at a time. First leg to the stool is this issue of fake news, which was the issue that Murph first suggested that I should address when we talked just after the election and before the first of the year, before the president took office. And so, as I said, I thought I would simply repeat with updates my lecture on how to find fake news on the internet, how to identify it, the tools we can bring to bear to deal with it. Very easy, simplistic kind of an approach. Go to the news sources you trust. That's easy. Can you independently verify the facts? Easy. Be suspicious of scoops from non-mainstream sites that you've never heard of before. Easy. Do you know who produced the news? Could you reach them if you needed to? Are they accountable for the work they do? Are they independent of special interests? These are things we can discern. It's really not that hard with a little bit of research. Most of us have our trusted sources. Most of the people in this room, I would suspect, your trusted sources are mainstream organizations with which you've been familiar for most of your adult lives. So you can trust these sources. They have a track record. And if you determine the news is suspect, then my main advice is don't share it. Don't post it to social media. Don't send it to friends. Spike it, kill it, get it out of your brains, and let the world move on. But all of that discussion about fake news and what to do about it seems so naive in the circumstances of the last couple of months. Now, fake news is false news. Okay? It's fiction created deliberately, and it's spread widely and most often for profit. It's one of the misunderstandings about the nature of fake news. It's for profit. People making money. Much of the fake news that circulated during the election cycle came from individuals or small groups, foreign and domestic. There were fake news farms in Romania, for example, whose goal was to make money through ad revenue generated through search, through Google search and other search engines, and through social media shares, Facebook primarily. And every time somebody clicked and shared, ads would appear, and somebody would make money, sometimes quite a lot of money, thousands of dollars a day. The most outrageous claims generated the most clicks and produced the most money, so the incentive is to really go beyond the pale of fake news. In most cases, as the election proceeded, ideas that were so outrageous, so clearly false, that thinking people would immediately recognize them as fake, but nevertheless shared and reshared and clicked, often by people who were just wanting to share something outrageous with friends for a good laugh. In general, these fakers were apolitical. They really didn't have a dog in the race. There was more fake news about Hillary Clinton because there was a market for it. I mean, be reasonable. How could anything fake about Donald Trump compete with the reality? There just wasn't anything that the fake news could provide that real news wasn't giving us, but the market was for Hillary Clinton. Now, we also know that some fake news aimed at hurting Clinton was state-sponsored, primarily generated by the Russian propaganda apparatus, and they've got a substantial one, to help turn the election to Trump. We don't really know the scope of that effort and how it connects with hacking, for example. And we won't know unless Congress wakes up and does its duty to investigate the Trump-Russian ties, which is increasingly problematic.